Now, today we are going to discuss about the overview of microelectronics. That means, what is microelectronics, how to produce microelectronics, what are the applications of microelectronics. So, first of all, microelectronics is nothing but a subfield of electronics. How to produce all types of electronic components like transistors, capacitors, diodes, resistors in micron size. I mean in micrometers. So for that, when you able to design all types of these components, electronic components in micron size, then that leads to miniaturization. Miniaturization is about decreasing the size of the electronic device, final device. So, to develop this one, we have to have a material. So, on which material we have to develop this microelectronics. So, for that, the best one is we have materials. So available materials are three types: conductors, insulators, and semiconductors. Among these three, semiconductor is a suitable material. So generally, the available intrinsic semiconductors are two. Those are silicon and germanium. So that people have been investigated silicon and germanium, which material is suitable for the microelectronics production. So when you study the properties of silicon and germanium has attractive properties over silicon in terms of carrier concentration, charge carrier mobility, and all these things. So whenever you want to do some experiments with electrons, so always we have to have more number of electrons available in a body. So that germanium has more number of electrons, so the people started working on germanium in the beginning of 1940s. So people studied more than a year, more than a decade on germanium, and they try to fabricate, they try to develop electronic device. So that electronic device is nothing but which device is suitable to control electronics. They have to define MOS devices, metal oxide semiconductor devices. That means we have to deposit an oxide insulator on semiconductor. On that metal, on insulator, we have to deposit metal. So, for these things, first of all, here we have to have two interfaces. One is semiconductor oxide interface, oxide metal interface. So, here, whenever you have to deposit whenever you want to deposit the oxide, people first of all think about the native oxide of the semiconductor. So as people have chosen, as we discussed earlier, as people have chosen germanium as a good semiconductor material, so people have been concentrated on germanium oxide. So that people developed germanium oxide stacks. So on germanium oxide they put some metal contact and they started studying the properties of germanium oxide metal stacks. So but whenever this germanium oxide, after decade survey, after survey of one decade, so people found that germanium oxide is highly volatile. Germanium oxide is highly volatile, and they can easily dissolve in DI water. If you heat the stack for more at around low temperatures like 400 degrees centigrade or 300 degrees centigrade, like that, so this interface has been get disturbed. So whenever the interface is not stable thermally or electrically, then there is no use to develop device. So due to that reason, people concentrated on silicon semiconductor. So again, people started working on silicon in late 1940s, and they found that silicon oxide stack is relatively highly stable thermally when compared with germanium oxide stacks. So this means silicon oxide stack is thermally highly stable when compared with germanium oxide stacks. So that silicon has been attracted by the time people started working on for microelectronics. For microelectronics, people have chosen silicon oxide stacks. So after that, if they want to use silicon oxide, so silicon oxide is okay. Silicon oxide is low-K material. If you keep on using silicon oxide material, how much capacity, how much data you can store in the device, that we don't know. So that people have been concentrated on high-K materials to store the more data in an electronic device. So people concentrate on high-K materials. High-K materials means we have so many high-K, all oxide materials and nitride materials, more oxide and nitride materials, high dielectric constant materials. Among different high-K materials, titanium oxide, tantalum oxide, zirconium oxide, and hafnium oxide have been attracted researchers much. So, among these all four high-K materials, this titanium oxide and tantalum oxide are easy to deposit, and they have very good chemistry with silicon substrate, but they have very low conduction band offset values. So whenever the material has low conduction band offset values, then that material is not suitable for the transaction of the data. So due to this reason, the titanium oxide and tantalum oxide are not used for mass FETs, field effect transistors. For mass capacitor it is okay. For mass FETs, people have been concentrated on other materials. Then the remaining two materials, zirconium oxide and hafnium oxide, have attracted. So apart this between this zirconium oxide and hafnium oxide, again zirconium oxide is suffering with low chemistry, with poor chemistry with silicon substrate. So that people have been fully concentrated on hafnium oxide. Finally, they have developed a very good attractive stacks of hafnium oxide and silicon for the microelectronic devices. This is the first part of the overview of microelectronics. Then in the second part, we will discuss about the interface engineering of high-K material and semiconductor substrate.